So, very good evening to all of you. We are again here on this Wednesday to with our next class. But today, this Wednesday is a very special day, and coincidentally, we are also celebrating today Dr. Haneman's birthday. So, few things. First of all, I would like to wish all of you a very on this great day when this great man he was born on this particular day, and he completely revolutionized the medical system. He gave something to the people, to the doctors, which can actually give hope and cure to the people who are suffering from sickness. So, today, before starting this class on Organon, we are also joined with Dr. Vidya. She is also here, and she wants to wish you.
Hello. Hello to all the doctors. A very happy Hanumanian Day. And I hope that Dr. Hanuman blesses us all with his guidance to follow the right path in homeopathy and help those who really need a medical help, a true help rather, not just an artificially um a fake what do you say medical treatment which is prevailing right now. So uh, please continue with the Dr. Avtar's lecture. Thank you all.
So, this is a very good day. We have a class of Organon to talk about few aphorisms. So we will start with the lecture. We'll start with the class. Last time we have done till aphorism 17. So today we will start with the aphorism 18. So aphorism 18. From this indubitable thing, from this indubitable truth that besides the totality of the symptoms, nothing can by any means be discovered in diseases, wherewith they could express their need of aid. It follows undeniably that the sum of all the symptoms in each individual case of disease must be the sole indication, the sole guide to direct us in the choice of a remedy. So, Dr. Hahnemann is saying that this is an indubitable truth. Indubitability means the truth which cannot be challenged. You cannot challenge this truth. That the totality of the symptom, the whole symptoms of the body, when you are investigating a disease, you look at the whole symptoms and there is nothing which you can investigate further because that is the extent of the disease. And through these totality of the symptoms, the vital force, the body, it tells us that it is disease and it needs some aid, some medicine. So he says that um, that goes by logic, that goes by this experience also, that these symptoms are the sole indication, the sole guide which will help us in the choice of a remedy, how the remedy should be chosen. If a person is diseased, he is showing those symptoms of the disease. So those symptoms should be the guide to choose a remedy, not something else, not something which we suppose is hidden inside, which we think might be the cause. So this totality of the symptom, it is a, if you look at it minutely, if you think about it for 5 minutes, this totality of symptoms, this is a very unique concept. Before Dr. Hahnemann's time, this concept was not taken by any other school of medicine, by any other in the last 2000 years of the medical field. The totality of symptoms was never thought of. And it is so important thing that it not only tells you that the patient is diseased, it also tells you where in the body, the organs, the tissues, which parts are diseased. And it also helps you in the choice of a remedy, that how it should be chosen. So I have made this thing to, you know, so that we can remember the importance of the totality of symptoms, where it is seen, important in understanding the disease phenomena. Aphorism 3, we have to perceive what is to be cured in the each individual case. So to understand the whole disease phenomena, how the disease progressed, where it appeared, how the symptoms changed, what were the important factors in the changing of the disease phenomenons. So the whole disease phenomena, it helps us to understand the totality of symptoms. Important in understanding the man in disease, the individuality. Because if we don't take the totality of symptoms, we will not be able to individualize the patient. Because from the totality of symptoms, we come up with the characteristic symptoms. We come up with those symptoms which basically describe the man or describe the characteristic points of the disease. Then third is important in finding the remedy, like what is being told in the aphorism 18, that is the only sole guide, the sole guide in the choice of remedy. Then next part, important in understanding the follow-up. Until and unless we don't have the totality of symptoms, it will be very difficult for us to understand what symptoms should get better first and what should get better last, where the disease is going. Because disappearance of symptoms, just simple disappearance of symptom, does not mean that it is gone. It may also go into state of suppression. So we have to also see where the disease is going. For that, Dr. Kent's 12 observation or Herring's law are very are a useful tool to understand that. We may talk on Dr. Kent's observation someday. We'll see to it. So the totality of symptom is so important in the whole case. So that is why this concept of totality of symptom, it is a very unique one in homeopathy. Very unique concept. And as a homeopath, there is a very famous writing of Dr. Kent, if you can find it in the lesser writings of Dr. Kent, regarding the birthday of the Hahnemann, that how Hahnemann's birthday should be celebrated. So he has given this very important thing, that all the great minds in homeopathy, if you find Dr. Boinghausen, Dr. Kent, Dr. Herring, Dr. Nash, and whatever the names, you know, th- that they had all this one quality, that they adhered, they followed the principles given by the Organon. And that is why they became great. And you don't even know the name of the doctors who used to prescribe the patents or gave multiple doses, multiple medicines, or medicine in the form of mother tinctures. These names never came in the history of homeopathy. No one recognizes those people. So he's telling the importance of following the principles which Dr. Hahnemann gave us, so that we can give results, so that we can cure the patients. And when we cure the patients, then all that greatness follows those physicians. So one of the principles of the homeopathy is taking the totality of the symptoms. So it is a very important principle because it helps in all the important fields. understanding the disease phenomena, understanding the man, and finding the remedy, and understanding the follow-up. From starting to the end, the totality of symptoms plays a very, very, very important role in the whole case. So next aphorism 19. Now, as diseases are nothing more than alterations in the state of health of the healthy individual, which express themselves by morbid signs, and the cure is also only possible by a change to the healthy condition of the state of health of the diseased individual. It is very evident that medicines could never cure diseases if they did not possess the power of altering man's state of health. He said that now we know that diseases are nothing more than diseases are just alterations in the state of health. Man was at a stage of health. Then something changed in him. Something started changing in him. That change was shown in the form of signs and symptoms, and we started calling it disease. So there was an alteration in the state of health of the healthy individual, and those things we call as diseases, which express themselves by the morbid signs and the cure. Okay, so we have understood the disease, and now we have to understand the cure. How is cure possible? That cure can only be made possible by changing the healthy condition of the state of health of the diseased individual. Means diseased individual, for example, someone is suffering from diabetes, someone is suffering from hypertension, someone is suffering from neuralgic pains. They are already in this state of health. This is the condition of their health, that this part is deteriorated and this part is fine. 40% is deteriorated, 60% is fine. So the cure is only possible if we can change this state, because something has to be given to them which can change the state. So from there, it is very evident that the medicines could never cure. Those medicines can never cure if they do not possess the power of altering man's state of health. So the medicine should have that power, that if given to the man, it should alter the state of health. That power should be there. If something does not contain, for example, if you drink something or eat something and it does not have the power to alter your state of health, that means it does not even have the power to cure. So that curative power of any medicine is basically its power to change the state of health. For example, if someone takes the arsenic as a poison, man was at a particular state. When he takes arsenic, some symptoms start building inside. So arsenic has that power, that it can change the state of health. It can start causing nausea. It can start causing more thirst. It can start causing the burning sensation, which was not present there. This have happened after arsenic. So this particular part, this particular element, this particular um, metal, it has a power to change the state of the health of the man. So it also contains the power to cure the disease. So this is what Dr. Hahnemann is trying to tell here, that some things which are given to us by the nature, by the Almighty, He has given the answer to our questions regarding the health in these simple substances. The substances, because the thought of homeopathy started with this thing. If you all, I think most of you would know how homeopathy was discovered. That Dr. Hahnemann took Cinchona, China. He was in a state of health. He took Cinchona and it started producing the symptoms of malaria in him. From there, the idea stuck up that the quinine or the Cinchona, it has the power of curing malaria because it has the power to cause malaria. That is the power of altering a man's state of health. Even during COVID, um, this thought came from I don't know which kind of mind. They told that hydroxychloroquine, if you take it as a prophylaxis, it will help you that the COVID does not happen. And many people started taking hydroxychloroquine. Many people. And they started having these symptoms of quinine. My very close friend, he was taking this hydroxychloroquine. Even I told him that there is no need, but he was in a state of fear. So that state of fear plus hydroxychloroquine, it started producing these symptoms. And when they become very, this violent, he asked for my help, that these are the things that have happened to me. And I told him that this is due to the quinine, so don't take it now. So he stopped taking it. And all the symptoms they matched with China. And when I gave him China, the next day he was very much better with that. So this is the relation. Although hydroxychloroquine is not a natural form, it is a more of a synthetic thing which is made. But still, the important were the symptoms. What kind of symptoms were being produced? So here Dr. Hahnemann is trying to tell us this, that it is very evident that medicines could never cure diseases if they did not possess the power of altering man's state of health, which means that only those medicines can cure which have possessed the power of altering man's state of health, which depends on sensations and functions. Because man's state of health is basically dependent upon how we are feeling and how we are functioning, the sensation and functions. Indeed, that their curative power must be owing solely to this power they possess of altering man's state of health. And their curative power, the power to cure, is the same power which they possess of altering man's state of health. It is not something different, but it is the same power. So we can understand from this power of medicine, from where the power of medicine is coming. If you are giving lycopodium, pulsatilla, sulfur, or a metallicum, arsenic, album. So that power of medicine, the to cure, that curative power of medicine is coming from the power of medicine to alter the state of the health. We will more understand when we go ahead about this thing, why he's telling us this thing. This spirit-like power to alter man's state of health. Now he's talking about this power, the power of the medicines to alter man's state of health and hence to cure diseases, which lies hidden in the inner nature of medicines, can never be discovered by us by a mere effort of reason. So this power which is hidden, like if you look at arsenic as a metal or mineral, you cannot judge what it can cause. What is the power which is hidden inside? You cannot just judge by looking at it, by smelling it. We cannot judge it. We cannot judge the power of ponium just by looking at the plant. We cannot judge the power of sulfur by just looking at the mineral because they are hidden inside. So the spirit-like power to alter man's state of health and hence to cure the disease, because it is the same power, which lies hidden in the nature of medicine, can never be discovered by us by a mere effort of reason. It is only by experience of the phenomena it displays when acting on the state of health of man that we can become clearly cognizant of it. So we can only experience the phenomena. We can only experience this power which it displays when it is given to a healthy man in a state of health. And then only we can recognize what kind of power it consists. Now, here also, there was this very big, uh, it was an act of courage, I would say, by many homeopaths, by Dr. Henneman himself. Then I'll give the credit to Dr. Herring also, and many other homeopaths who did this act of courage, because usually the medicines are not used in human trials. But that is the only way to understand how the medicine can act. We mostly the medicines are tested on the animals, and we see what changes are produced in the tissue. But what actually happened, like when we do provings, we will go to the aphorisms of provings and we will discuss it there also. That when a medicine is taken, there are three types of symptoms which are produced. One are the subjective symptoms, which only the patient can tell. Then there are the objective symptoms, which the attendant see or the physician himself see. And then rest of the symptoms which the physician can observe on himself, they are not much understood by the patient or the attendants. So in this trials on animals or this thing, we cannot get the subjective symptoms. How can an animal tell the subjective symptoms? We can see under the microscope what is happening, but neither the objective symptoms, neither the subjective symptoms, they cannot be collected from that data. And those are the important things, because when a man is made sick, the man tells us that I am sick. There is change in the sensations. He tells that I am not feeling well. That cannot be told by a mouse, that cannot be told by a guinea pig. So this was a very bold and very great act of courage which these homeopaths have done for homeopathy. When I think it is about Dr. Herring that he gave, I think this story is because uh, that when he started the proving of lachesis, he gave he made his wife sit there, and he told that there are many chances that I might die, but keep noting the symptoms till I die, whatever the symptoms are coming, and give it to one of my students so that he can write it down. That was their dedication to give these kind of remedies, and the lachesis have become a very very prominent remedy in the field of homeopathy. We all know that. We all have seen so many cases which have been cured by lachesis, and can could have only been cured by lachesis. So he was even ready to sacrifice his life for the proving of lachesis. Hmm? Because that is the only way. That is the only way. There is no other way to know that how any medicinal substance can basically change the state of the health of man. There is no other way to know that. And it is not something which was done recently. These things also happened earlier, but there was no major continuation done on that thing. These kind of things are also noted. Now, here Dr. Henneman basically wants to tell us is that there are two scenarios. One, this thing that we have experienced the phenomenon, a healthy state, how a medicine basically changes the state of health of the man. And we know that it changes in this way. We know that thing. And then we are prescribing it. So why he is basically making this difference? Then there is the another this scenario where we are giving medicines whose actions we don't know. We don't know how it acts. At that time, many medicines, the purgatives were given. There were sulfides which were given. There were antimonies which were given at that time in huge quantities. So he was saying that we don't even know how these medicines basically affect the health of man. And without knowing that thing, we are giving it to the people. We don't even know it will help or it will hurt. And when you're giving the medicine to a healthy man, it has the chance to repel the action of the medicine. It is a very, very great chance that they can repel the action of the medicine. But when you are giving it a sick man where the vitality is already weak, that medicines they produce such kind of actions which become the part of disease because the vitality is very weak. So basically, he wanted to tell in these coming aphorisms is that when we are giving the medicines, we should at least know how this medicine acts on a human being, how it acts, what kind of symptom it produces. Because it is very important to know what kind of symptoms a medicine basically produces. What is the actual phenomena of that medicine on the human body? Now, as it is undeniable that the curative principle in medicines is not in itself perceptible, and as in pure experiments with medicines conducted by the most accurate observers, nothing can be observed that can constitute them medicines or remedies, except that power of causing distinct alterations in the state of health of human body, and particularly in that of the healthy individual. So he says that it is undeniable to say that thing. We cannot deny it. We cannot deny this understanding that the curative principle, the curative power in the medicines is not itself perceptible. We cannot just, it is not shown to us that what is curative in the medicine until and unless we see how it causes the alteration in the state of health of human body in a healthy individual. Without that, there is no way to understand the curative power of a medicine and of exciting in him various definite morbid symptoms. And then it excites in the healthy individual various kind of morbid symptoms. And from there, we get this understanding, observation, and what kind of power this medicine consists. So it follows that when medicines act as remedies means when they are given specifically to a specific case, they can only bring their curative property into play by means of this their power of altering man's state of health and by the production of peculiar symptoms. So he says that when the remedies are given, these medicines are given as remedies. These medicines are given as specifics for a particular man, for a particular state of disease. So these this power of altering the state of health of a man is basically their curative power which comes into play and it starts curing. And that therefore we have only to rely on the morbid phenomena which the medicines produce in the healthy body. Like I was telling you that there is only way how we can rely on this thing is to understand that morbid phenomena, understand that diseased phenomena, understand what kind of symptoms this particular medicine can produce in the healthy body as the sole possible revelation. It is the only possible revelation. That is the only way how the power of a remedy can be revealed when it is given to an healthy individual in a state of health. And from there, we can understand what kind of symptoms it has the power to produce. Of their indwelling curative power, in order to learn what disease producing power and at the same time what disease curing power each individual medicine possess. Because like the people have their own individuality, all the medicinal substances also have their individuality. Sulfur has its own individuality. Lycopodium has its own individuality. Aurum metallicum has its own individuality. Ignatia has its own individuality. So to understand what individual medicine possess, that medicine needs to be given on in a healthy individual so that it can produce the changes. What disease producing power and at the same time what disease curing power it possesses. There is no other way how it can be revealed to us, that phenomena. A lot of work has been done on this field, I think. Dr. Henneman has done it, Dr. Herring has done it, Dr. LTF Allen has done it. So many people have done it. There are many other people, other doctors, great doctors who have done it. And we have this in our front in the form of materia medica. So the whole materia medica, the whole provings, we call them provings, this, that is about this and these aphorisms. All the provings are basically what kind of disease producing power each medicine has. How each medicine, what kind of power each medicine have to alter the state of health of a healthy individual. That is what is written in the proving. And when this medicine was given, this patient started going into anxiety. He was anxious about his future. He had this pain on the right side of the occiput, which was traveling down his neck to his back. So that was given in the provings after the medicine was proved. And when that kind of patient would come and they would give the same medicine to that patient, they would see that he's getting cured. So from there, Dr. Henneman, because Organon, when Dr. Henneman started writing Organon, I think he was already having around, I think, 15 or 20 years of experience in this thing. So he had experienced this thing. These provings were already being done. These patients were already being given medicines. So this whole book has not come out of some kind of, that one day the idea came and other day he started writing the book. And throughout the book, throughout the organ, you will see that at many points he will stop. He will tell you to not do this thing because he has already done it and he has seen that it has not given any kind of relief to the patient. Like in the coming aphorisms, also he will tell. So he always use the word from experience, as the experience tells that I have experienced it already, I have done it already, and it does not give you a favorable result. So don't waste your time on doing this again. So we as a homeopath must understand that it is very important to understand the action of any kind of medicinal substance on the human body. We should know that thing. But as nothing is to be observed in diseases that must be removed in order to change them into health besides the totality of their signs and symptoms, and likewise medicines can show nothing curative besides their tendency to produce morbid symptoms in healthy persons and to remove them in diseased persons. So as we have observed this, that for creating a health in a diseased individual, we just have to remove the totality of the signs and symptoms, the totality of the symptoms from their body. And in the medicines, the power to create or to show the symptoms is basically their power by which they can remove those symptoms and signs from a diseased person. It follows on the one hand that the medicines only become remedies and capable of annihilating diseases because the medicinal substance, by exciting certain effects and symptoms, that is to say, by producing a certain artificial morbid state, removes and abrogates the symptoms already present to wit the natural morbid state we wish to cure. So, on the one side, when we are investigating the patient, we have taken this totality of symptoms. And on the other side, from the proving, we have list of symptoms and signs which a medicine has the power to produce and to cure. Now, we have to give a remedy to cure the disease. So, whenever a remedy cures someone, for example, I give lycopodium to someone, when it is curing that patient, it is curing by acting, by creating some symptoms in him, because the only way a medicine can act like we have done this thing, that only way a medicine can alter the state of a man of health is by producing something in him, producing a state in him, producing some symptoms in him, which can remove the already present natural symptoms. There is a natural disease going on. And then this medicinal disease is being given to the patient. Because whenever you give a medicine, it is going to produce some symptoms. It is going to act by producing certain symptoms. So, on the other hand, it follows that for the totality of symptoms of the disease to be cured, a medicine must be sought. So, now to cure, we have to find a medicine according as experience shall prove whether the morbid symptoms are most readily certain. Like here also, Dr. Henneman has given this thing, the experience shall prove. I will tell you my experience, and from there you can make this proof of the thing. About what thing we are going at. Are most readily, certainly, and permanently removed and changed into health by similar or opposite medicinal symptoms. Has a tendency to produce similar or opposite symptoms. So now he's coming to that point of similia similibus currenter, because from 23 aphorism onwards, we will go into the law of similars, the next principle of homeopathy. So here he is telling in very simple this thing, although it appears when we, go through the wordings, the way he forms the sentences, the way he tells that it is very confusing. No, it is not confusing. If we just go one by one from 28, from 19 to 20 to 21 to 22. So here he comes to this result. There is a disease, there are certain symptoms. For example, there is headache, there is something fever or some cough or some expectoration which is being expelled out profusely. And then we have a list of remedies here which have different kind of actions. He says that now we have to sort a remedy. Okay. On the other hand, it follows that for the totality of the symptoms of the disease to be cured, a medicine must be sought. We have to sort, we have to find a remedy which can either produce similar symptoms or the opposite symptoms. So if there is profuseness of expectoration, should we give a remedy which produces profuseness of symptoms or which produces dryness? Should I give Brinia here or should I give Nux vomica here or Ipecac here or Kali Sulf here? Now, the action of Brinia is dryness. It causes the dryness. The action of Kali Sulf is profuseness of the expectoration. So what kind of remedy which should we give? That it should produce the opposite state of the action or the similar state of the action. Because till then, in this system, because allopathic system is not a, I'm again coming to this part, that system has taken things from many other theories, and you don't find any particular part that is being followed. They give isopathy also, they have heterogeneous this thing also. So there are many things which are mixed up according to the whatever the view or theories prevailing at that time. They are following it. So at that time, there were many things like, for example, if there was congestion, there was this tendency for bloodletting, which is an opposite thing, to release the blood from the body because there is congestion. So this is an opposite action. This is an opposite action. If there is vasodilation, give a vasoconstriction, then give a medicine for vasodilation. This is an opposite action. So here Dr. Hanneman is saying till now that what kind of medicine we should give? The medicine which produces vasoconstriction or the medicine which produces vasodilation? What kind of remedy will tell us that it can cure this disease permanently, not time for a time being, but permanently? So for there he writes in bracket, according as experience shall prove whether the morbid symptoms are most readily, certainly and permanently removed and changed into health by similar or opposite medicinal symptoms. That in the coming aphorisms, I will tell you my experience and prove that whether the symptoms are permanently removed and changed into health by similar or opposite medicinal symptoms. The medicines which produce the similar symptoms or the medicines which produce the opposite symptoms. So there is a footnote to aphorism 22. The other possible mode of employing medicines for diseases, beside these two, the allopathic method in which medicines are given whose symptoms have no direct pathological relation to the morbid state. So from opposite or similar, these are the two possible methods of employing, whether we give the medicine which produces a similar state or the opposite state. Then there is one more allopathic method. He is saying allopathic method to be a third method in which the medicines are given whose symptoms have no direct pathological relation to the morbid state. He said that allopathic method in isopathy or homeopathy, there are at least this thing is there that either we give similar or we give the opposite. But in the third method, the allopathic method, the symptoms have no relation to the pathology. Neither they produce similar symptoms, those medicines, neither they produce the opposite symptom. And consequently are neither similar nor opposite, but quite heterogeneous. It is quite completely different. Their action is completely different to the symptoms of the disease as is shown above in the introduction. So review of in the introduction of the Organon, he has given many examples regarding this, that how some medicines are given and they don't have, I have already talked about it in, I think, the last Thailand lecture. I have also talked about it in Brazil. If you study the action of this diabetic medicine, uh, I have forgotten the name, tiny, tiny gliptin, something like this. So it has neither the similar action nor the opposite action, quite a different action in a different tissue of the body. And there are many such kind of medicines. I will take the examples when those particular aphorisms will come. So here we have to merely an imperfect and injurious imitation of the extremely imperfect efforts of the unintelligible, merely instinctive vital force, which when made ill by noxious agents, strives to save itself at whatever sacrifice by the production and continuance of the morbid irritation in the organism. He says that the method which they are adopting, the heterogeneous method, the allopathic method, why it is imperfect and injurious? Because they're trying to imitate the efforts of a diseased vital force. Now, what is vital force doing is, he says, which when made ill by the noxious agent strives to save itself at whatever sacrifice by the production and continuance of morbid irritation in the organism. So what is vital force doing? Aphorism 74. We can also have this example that what is vital force doing? Whenever the vital force is becoming diseased, it is trying to sacrifice some sensation or function by saving the rest of the body. I'll give you a small example of a um, medicine. Like when you just remember this line, that how that this vital force, it is an instinctive force. It is sacrificing one part to save the other part. Now you all are coming from the, most of all have are coming from the different medical backgrounds, and many of you are coming from the allopathic background, so you know these things. There is a medicine of diabetes. I don't because um, long time back I have talked about it, that there is a medicine when the blood glucose is very high. So they give this medicine. I will come up with the name later on, and I think it was banned in some countries, but in India many doctors still prescribe it. In many other countries, doctors still prescribe it, not only in India. So regarding this medicine, how this medicine lowered the blood glucose levels. So the glucose, the diabetes basically it is associated with the pancreas, the beta cells of the pancreas, that they are not functioning properly. So the insulin is not being released as is required. And that is why the blood sugar levels are going up, or with the and this thing. So what this medicine do is, this medicine basically changes the shape of the glomerular apparatus in the kidneys, in the nephrons of the kidneys. It increases the size of the filters, the pores, so that the blood glucose molecules can pass through it and they go into the urine. They are passed out through urine. So in that way, the blood glucose is basically lower. Now, kidneys are being sacrificed to decrease the blood glucose level. A very unintelligent, instinctive thing being done. So that is why Dr. Hahnemann is saying imperfect and injurious imitation. You are imitating what vital force is doing, you are also doing. What is vital force doing? It is sacrificing one organ, one part, one tissue, one sensation or some function of the body to save the whole. And you are doing the same thing. A healthy kidney is being sacrificed. Now, with vital force, it is a natural disease. With medicines, it is an artificial disease. There was no need for it. There was no problem with kidney. There was just high blood glucose level. But the structure of the kidney is being changed with a medicine, so that we can just in the numbers, in the parameters, we can see that it is below 110 or 120 or whatever other this scale is being used to measure it. So we are sacrificing with the medicine, and he's saying that this is a heterogeneous action. It is neither opposite nor similar. We are affecting some different organ. We are The medicine is acting on a different kind of issue tissue. It is not even close. An imitation, consequently, of the crude vital force which is implanted in our organism in order to preserve our life and health. This vital force is basically implanted in this organism so that it can preserve our life and health. When we are in a healthy state, it can go with the continuation of the functions, it can preserve it in the most beautiful harmony. But when deranged by a disease, when this vital force is deranged by a disease, was so constituted as to admit of being again changed to health homeopathically by the intelligent physician. And then it was also programmed that when it becomes disease, an intelligent physician can again change it back to the health homeopathically by giving medicine homeopathically, but not to cure itself. It does not possess the power to cure itself. If it had that power, there would be no chance of chronic diseases. There would be no chance of acute diseases. But it does not have that power, not to cure itself, for which the little power it possesses, it possesses very little power of that thing, is so far from being a pattern to be copied. So the vital force does not have the power to cure, because from experience we know that if it had that power to cure itself, we would never have become sick. It could have cured anything on its own. It cannot cure it on its own until a right medicine which can act homeopathically is given to the patient. So he's saying that it has a very small little power of this thing of cure or this thing. And how can we copy that thing? How can we copy something which is not there? So that all the changes and symptoms it produces in the morbidly deranged organism are just the disease itself. So whatever the changes it is producing, it is already disease. And how can you imitate that thing? So if to save the heart, the body is basic, the vital force is shifting the disease to mind or to this thing, and you are also copying that thing. Okay, shift the disease to the mind, because that is what the allopathic medicines do. It gives you more bigger problem so that the smaller problem can disappear. There is a very famous, this kind of a joke in Punjabi language that if someone complains you that I'm having a headache, okay, you tell him to pick up a big stone and throw it on his feet. The headache will disappear because you have given a more greater thing to be which the person should be worried about. So obviously it is going to disappear. Now he will be more worried with his injury. So that is how this therapy. So next line is a bit of a harsh line, which Dr. Hahnemann is using. Like I told you that sometimes the language he can get harsh, but it is necessary also because he is emotionally attached to this thing. He's emotionally attached. He was a man who came to serve humanity. Humanity was his love. The health of the people was his love. So whenever someone is, doing something to injure or uh, dearrange something which you love, you get hurt. So, but this injudicious system of the therapeutics, injudicious means it is not justifiable thing which is being done. Of the old school of medicine can no more be passed by unnoticed. We cannot ignore it anymore. That can history omit to record. The thousands of years of oppression. He has called this thing an oppression of the mankind. That the mankind is oppressed under such kind of treatment, to which mankind has been subjected under the irrational despotic governments. And the governments have supported this thing, this irrational thing, that this despotic thing. So, like I told you, that sometimes he can be harsh. So, but here he tells you that why he stopped doing this thing and started discovering for homeopathy. So he has given it by his what I can say, by his logic and by his experience, all that is being. We also observe that thing. We observe these things when people are. I always ask the patients. I always ask that who are taking allopathy from a long time or some medicines from the long time, that have your medicine increased or decreased? Simple. The power of the medicine itself, the symptoms, have they decreased or increased? And 100% is the answer, result of this answer. They will always complain that it has increased. It has never decreased. So that is what Dr. Hahnemann was basically worried about. That when a patient come, he observed that he was not able to give relief, but with his medicines, more symptoms would come up. The original disease remained as it is, and with the medicine, the more symptoms would come up. So that is why he completely stopped doing allopathy. That at least if I cannot give relief to the patients, it is better that I do not increase their disease. I will just let them to be wherever they are. So he had this um, pain also inside. Like I told you, that he had this love towards people or humanity or this suffering of the mankind. He was not. It was not bearable to him, and he didn't want it to be a part in the system where he is basically increasing the suffering of the humanity. So all pure experience, however, and all accurate research convince us that persistent symptoms of disease are far from being removed and annihilated by opposite symptoms of medicines, as in the antipathic, enantiopathic, or palliative method. That, on the contrary, after transient apparent alleviation, they break forth again only with increased intensity and become manifestly aggravated. And this also we have also seen in experience. What? That the persistent symptoms of the disease. There are the symptoms which are persistent of the disease. They are far from they are very, very long away from being removed or annihilated. Annihilated means completely removed in permanency by the opposite symptoms of the medicine. If we give the medicines according to the opposite symptoms, if someone is having profuse expectoration and you give a medicine which suppresses or has the opposite effect, it has the effect the expectoration, as is done in the antipathic, enantiopathic, and palliative method, they cannot remove and annihilate the symptoms. But on the contrary, on the opposite, that after transient, very small, apparent elevation, very small amelioration or very small relief, they break forth again. They come back again. All those symptoms only with increased intensity. The intensity also increases and become manifestly aggravated, and they will become more aggravated. This we have all seen. We have all seen this thing. But whenever this palliative method is used, whenever these medicines are given, if painkiller is being given to relieve the pain, the next episode of the pain is more severe. And there are many cases which you will see. I have a doctor, an allopathic doctor who comes to me. He's a, I think, doctor of neurology, and he comes to me for migraines. And for the first time when he came, he told me this thing that, doctor, from morning to evening, at least 50, 60 patients come to me who are experiencing migraines, and I'm giving them the medicines to help them with the migraine. But after taking so many medicines, I think there is no medicine which can help with my migraine, because though no medicine is left in this field. I've taken all the medicines, and now even the medicines cannot control it. It is increasing so much, manifestly aggravated. It keeps on increasing. So Dr. Neman says that all the experience and all the accurate research has medicines which produce the opposite effect can never remove or cure the diseases. They cannot remove the symptoms permanently. But on the contrary, on the opposite scale, if we see, they always aggravate the problem. There will be relief for some time, but after that relief is gone, it will be badly aggravated again. So there remains So there remains therefore no other mode of employing medicines. So heterogeneous, he has already ruled out that it is a very imperfect imitation of the vital force, and it is very imperfect way of treating the disease, and it has done more disservice. He has already, and then he has also in the last aphorism, he has told us and we also have our experience with these kind of medicines. So he says that there remain therefore no other mode of employing the medicines in diseases that promises to be of service besides the homeopathic. So no other mode of uh, employing the medicine is there except the homeopathic one, by means of which we seek for the totality of the symptoms of the case of disease of medicine, which among all medicines whose pathogenetic effects are known from having been tested in healthy individuals, has the power and tendency to produce an artificial morbid state most similar to that of the case of disease in question. So here comes our law of similars. Similia similibus currenter. Let like be cured by like. Like cures like. So he says that the only homeopathic way is the way which is we are left with, because the other ways we know that they are not able to cure. So only the homeopathic way is left, where we give the medicine which has the power to create an artificial state of disease, which is similar to the disease in front of us. So if there is a patient who has profuse expectoration and other symptoms, among all the remedies, we find a remedy which has the tendency to produce profuse expectoration and the other symptoms and give it to the patient so that he can be cured permanently and in all extent of disease, because that is the only way. That is the only way. The other ways are not working. So this law of similar, how it has become important is because the experience has told us that the diseases cannot be cured permanently by the opposite way, by giving contraria contraris. It cannot be cured by the allopathic or the heterogenetic way because it produces more disease states than curing the disease itself, but only by the homeopathic way. That is the only method which is left. So we will stop here today's lecture. We have done, I think, around 7 aphorisms today. So it's good. So we'll start with from 25th onwards because of the next part. The next will be the principle of the law of nature or the law of therapeutics. So we'll go through it in our next class on the next Wednesday. So today on, I don't know how it is setting, but it is good. We, on the day of Dr. Henneman's birthday, we have discussed his most important and most primary law of homeopathy, the law of similars, because that was a very, it is the backbone of homeopathy. The homeopathy, the word itself means the law of similars. So I think I am blessed, or we are blessed, that we have discussed on this day. It automatically fit on this day that we have discussed those aphorisms which basically explain the law of similars, which basically give us the reasoning of the law of similars and why it should be used, why it should be, why it is the only way of curing the diseases permanently. So with that, I will take your leave. Any questions, anything at all, you can anytime convey your questions to me. So with that, I take your leave. Thank you so much. And again, may Dr. Henneman bless us, give us his blessings, so that we can continue on his path, on we can continue doing service toward this suffering humanity, the people who are sick. We can give them cure, we can give them relief, we can give them good life, because without health the person cannot even enjoy life. Even if he has all the things of the world, if the health is not there, he cannot enjoy those things to the fullest. So I pray that we become the medium to provide this thing to the people. So with that, I would like to thank all of you for patiently listening to me. And I also thank you to participate in this very important subject of the homeopathy. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.